season 7 predictions. I'm still not going to ask you, I think the show will end since there's 2 more years.
Right.
But in next year, which we think is 7 episodes.
Hopes and wishes.
Hopes and wishes for what we believe will be a truncated season 7 next year.
So first of all, we both agree that we think that Daenerys is going to get to Westeros next season. I think it could happen as early as the premiere. You say episode 3 if we're looking at a 7
I said,
episode.
by episode. I think it is sooner than later, though.
Okay.
I think it's,
I also think big prediction, and one that's gotten very popular after the finale, is that Jaime is going to kill Cersei. I think that's what that look was, and there's a lot of talk about how he was the one who killed the Mad King for threatening to do what Cersei did. I think, love can only take you so far in this world, and maybe it was just seeing Brienne again or coming back and having no children to really help hold them together, but I think she's donezo. He's the Valonqar. He's the little brother who is fated to kill her.
I think that there's definitely something to that because it's dramatically pretty interesting, of course. I am curious about Arya, again, going back to the fact that we filmed the last one right after we watched it and we were talking about, where will she go next? And then a lot of people pointed out, it's like, okay, well, she's back on her list and Cersei is kind of the last big name. So even if she does a pit stop along the way, she's got to be going to King's Landing too. So I'm starting to wonder if there will be some sort of alliance between her and Jaime. Even if they wanted to make a little reference to the whole disguise thing. Or not. It could just be a funny thing for us and Arya to know about. But I do think it's more dramatically interesting ultimately for Jaime to kill her than Arya. But I almost wonder if Arya and Jaime could somewhat be aligned. Like there could be some kind of like partnership there between the two of them. What do you think is going to happen? They brought the Hound back. But only for a couple episodes. And we've said that right now that it was cool to see him, but we didn't it didn't really prove itself to why did you need to do this? So do you think next season we're going to get more of that?
I think we're definitely going to get more of that. And I think that Melisandre could end up teaming up with them. And it's interesting, the second that, Davos and Jon Snow throw down the gauntlet of Melisandre, you can never come back to the wall ever, we're going to kill you, means to me, she's going to go back at some point for some great reason that she's going to have to. Where else? Everyone is going up north to fight this great battle, or so we think. So where else would she go? So I think that she can meet up with them, and we know that they are journeying north, and maybe they can pick up some other stragglers like Brienne and Arya along the way.
Because, I should mention, a lot of people also mentioned that Melisandre told Arya that we will meet again.
Yes.
It was like season 3. And you feel like they have to pay off on that. And that could mean along the way, but it could also mean could somehow Melisandre end up in King's Landing too. I do think, we had talked about how we thought they were maybe done with King's Landing this season, and they're not, because Cersei didn't burn the place to the ground. She burned parts of it to the ground. But that throne room's still standing, is still there. I still think, I don't know if King's Landing is making it to the end of the series, but and I feel like taking down Cersei again. There's almost a order here. What's, as you mentioned, the Night's King isn't like a full-fledged character yet, right?
Right.
He has not said a word. He has had no soliloquy. Is he our final boss? Or is it more dramatically interesting if it's Cersei in some way?
I think he is the final boss, and a big prediction that I have is that the White Walkers come through the wall. Whether that means the wall comes down, I'm not fully on board with that theory, but I know it's a very popular one that the wall will come down at some point. I think they're getting into Westeros by the end of this season. I thought it could have been this past season, season 6. I definitely think it's going to be season 7, and that they're going to force that threat to be the most immediate threat.
Yeah, I think I sometimes mix up what would we talk about at our desks versus sitting here talking about it. But I do feel like season 7, again, because it's the penultimate season, ending with they're here, the total swarming of, whether it's physically taking down the wall or going over it. I think that's going to be the ending. So I do think that maybe Cersei has to sort of be dealt with by the end and sort of wrap up.
I think she does not stay on the Iron Throne through the end of this season, for sure. And I also think that Jon does not stay King of the North.
You don't think that? I think he, I don't know. I feel like he might. I agree with you that I don't know if he's going to survive till the end of this series, but I think he might be king of the North a little longer. But I think it was even Lena Headey who was kind of like, she's not lasting long on, this, on this throne. Yeah.
Do you think we go back to Dorne next season, or do you think now that the last 3 people?
I don't think
Dorne,
we're physically going into Dorne. I think we might still see those characters, like they could just as easy be on one of those ships. If Varys is there in his same outfit, they could just pop up. But physically going back to Dorne and its very small courtyard,
right.
I think we're probably
something
done.
That I don't know if Game of Thrones is good enough to give it to us, but certainly seems like a likely possibility for season 7 is Tyrion coming face to face with his siblings again. If Dany is going to King's Landing, that would be something really interesting. Like we're talking about these sibling reunions that we want. When Sansa and Arya see each other again, I'm just going to be like openly weeping, crying all over the place. But I also think in a less happy reunion, seeing Tyrion and either Tyrion and Jaime, Tyrion and Cersei, or all 3 of them together is just going to be interesting no matter what happens.
I mean, we talked last week about, it seems like they're setting up a queen showdown of some sort. And you could definitely see the dramatic strength in the, if they're facing each other from far away and Tyrion's next to Dany and Cersei just getting that Cersei look upon her face.
So do you have any other big predictions before I ask you the big one?
I do not.
All right. Are we going to see Gendry in season 7?
Wow.
Is that a good segue?
I was going to read this email. It's funny, we've actually touched on both of these things, but YMV007 asks, do you think Nymeria will find Arya next season, and will Gendry ever be on the show again?
I'm going to, after what a happy season we had in season 6 and all the things we wanted happening, I'm going to say yes and yes. Too optimistic?
I don't know about next season for Nymeria, but she's got to pop up again at some point. And Gendry, again, because the question is, will we ever see him again? For sure. It would be shocking and bizarre if he never showed up again. There are some characters who can filter away and never come back, but when you're like Robert Baratheon's last surviving son, and you had Melisandre do this whole weird thing to you, there's too much importance to who he is in the bloodline and everything, especially where there's bastards involved already.
I just imagine that we never get that resolved on the show, and so many people have an upwards. Like when Lost did that little epilogue on the DVD that answered 15 other questions. Or when they were who was delivering the Dharma packages, and we find that out. I imagine a little one of those, except for Gendry. Still rolling.
Here I am. I think Gendry's gonna pop up by the end of the show. Maybe not next season. And same for Nymeria. Again, she's out there, and it would be so bizarre to not deal with her again. Again, with only 7 episodes, I don't know if next season's the season. But
I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say yes.
She thinks next season. So, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. What do you think is going to happen next season? Specifically, do you think we'll see Nymeria and or Gendry in season 7? Or if not, season 8. But let us know your big predictions for next season. Is Cersei's time on the throne going to be very short-lived? And when will Dany get to Westeros? Is that a very express to Westeros she's taken? Let's be there right away.
She's on the Varys Express.
The Varys Express.